Hello everybody and welcome to Let's Talk About Colouring. My name is Tatiana and I'm an Independent Stampin Up demonstrator here in Australia. I have been doing a series of videos exploring the different colouring options you have using Stampin' Up products. I kind of wanted to show you your options as well as to show you the different effects you get with different products, because when you watercolour with inks versus watercolor pencils, you get a very different look, and I wanted to be able to compare and contrast so that you have a better choice, so that you're making a nicer choice, not a nicer choice, so that you're making a more decisioned choice about what coloring method you do when you create paper crafting. I primarily focus on card making, but these techniques and tricks and techniques and tips can be applied to any sorts of paper crafting. It is crafting and it is for fun. I did study art a little bit, but it is primarily just for fun, because crafting is all about enjoying yourself and sharing that enjoyment with those you love and cherish and appreciate in your life by when you present them with the item that you have made. Today is lesson number 9. It's the second last lesson in this series of videos. It's almost sad, but I do have another series planned already, so you won't be getting rid of me so quickly. You know you're watching live if you can see the little red live right there. If not, and if you're watching on YouTube, you're definitely watching a recording. Still say hi, still leave a comment, because I enjoy reading all of them and I do try to respond to every comment. So lesson 9 is all about mixed media. Let's head to the craft desk and get started. Fabulous! As you can see, I have done a little bit of prep work for tonight. Hello, Patricia. Thank you for watching. Oh, thank you for the lovely comment too. Hello, Sharon from New Zealand. How exciting. Now, the bit of prep work I've done, I'll quickly walk you through it. I have stamped. So every week we have been looking at the same set of colours, just different mediums each week, and comparing them and using them and I've been showing you how to use that. Hello, Doreen. And each week I've been using the To a Wild Rose stamp set. And the reason why I chose this stamp set was because this beautiful rose and leaf image is so easily coloured in multiple different ways. And tonight I have started with a base. This is the one different thing tonight, is that I've pre-coloured some of it. Because we're doing mixed media, we're going to be building on. To my left here, I've stamped these. Hello, Suzanne. Thank you for joining me. I've stamped this on the Fluid 100 watercolor paper and coloured it in the pigment sprinkles. This is exactly what we did last week, where I mixed the pigment sprinkles into water and used them as watercolouring. And that's what I've done with these 3. And over here, that was on, I've said that Fluid 100 paper, and I used Stays On ink because that will not bleed into your watercolouring. This side over here, I have stamped on Whisper White thick cardstock, and I have coloured in with the base of Stamping Blends. Here they are. These are alcohol-based markers, and I did do a video already in this series showing you how to colour with them. And let's put those ones to the side, and let's take our base of blender pens, stamping blends. Basically, mixed media means that we're using various mediums, and so I am just going to start building on. This is the reason why I pre-coloured these tonight, was because we're building on from the base layer. And I haven't quite decided what I want to do. Let's start with, these are the Stampin' Right markers. We have used them already. I did get a new technique for them recently, but I'll leave that. I'm taking the same colour, which is Daffodil Delight, you can see there, and I'm going to use the brush tip, and I'm going to deepen this darker areas with that. So basically I'm adding color. I could do this with the Stampin' blend, of course, but with this it's going to look a little bit different and we're going to get a different effect. And we're going to build on this. I feel like mixed media is all about building the color. It's not about leaving it plain or simple. It's all about the building of color. Hope everyone is well. We've had a very rainy weekend here. Hello, Jessica. Thanks for joining me. It's lovely to see you here again. It's still raining out your way. We had a sunshine day today, which was a lovely change. A bit of drying of laundry as well, which is good. And I'm going to do the same here. So now you can see I've deepened the color here. And I'm going to show you something I really enjoy doing with these. And I did show it in the episode where I use the Stampin' Up markers, and that is adding some dots. So this time I'm going to just add them as a textural element. Hello, Renee. Gotta say, but I enjoyed the sunshine today, but the humidity is back and I'm not enjoying that. Now I'm using, you haven't bought the markers yet. Are they something you should invest in? Susan, that's a challenging question for me to answer because I have not invested in all of them myself. I joined as a Stampin' Up demonstrator before owning any Stampin' Up products, meaning that I didn't really have anything. Okay, Jessica, you try that. Hopefully that'll work for you. But Suzanne, I think these are a really good investment and I am slowly building. In fact, I had an order shipped today that has my subtles markers, and the reason why I think they're really good is you can do these kind of textural things. So you can see I've added those dots and that really changes the look. And I could do the dots with the Stampin' blends, but I don't get the same fine tip. Now the other thing that I really like about these markers, and this fine tip particularly, is that I can coordinate my colors inside my card as well, meaning that I can write inside the card in the coordinating color. Now if those things is something that appeals to you, I would say definitely. That's a definite really good investment. And the other thing with these that I really enjoy doing is multiple color stamping from the one stamp. So you know how you get that look where you've got something. I did a video last week, my live last week on Wednesday, where I went in with the marker and colored in a section of the stamp and stamped it, and that meant that I could get multiple colors stamped out at once, and the markers are fabulous for that. I'm really liking this, the dotted look. So you can see what I do with mixed media is just build on, add elements, take the qualities of the medium and try to really enhance them in that. It doesn't have to be loud. These dots are quite subtle, but they really add something to the stamped image as opposed to just simply coloring them. You could also do lines, cross-hatching like I did in one of the examples earlier on in this series of videos. So basically, that's all I'm doing with this particular one. I might go in and add something else as well. That's what we will do. Because this is mixed medium, we're going to keep building, but I'm going to do all the dots first. So Suzanne, did I answer your question? I hope I did. I'm not going to say yes, you have to go buy. Oh, but they are a great investment. depending on what you're going to use them for. If you're not going to use them, don't buy them, because it's not going to be a great investment in that case. Now I'm going to take the watercoloring pencil now in the same color, Bermuda Bay in this case. So the 3 colors, I'm just going to lightly lay that on in the area where I added the dots. And I know that the dots are now being covered, but we're going to go in and blend that out. So it has, I'm just picking that up, it has kind of covered up the dots a bit, and you could go back and add the dots, but we will blend that color out as well. Hello Kay, no you have not missed me. I did go on live a bit later tonight just because I had the P&F meeting tonight and I didn't want to be rushed. Oh, thank you Joan, it's lovely to see you here. I hope you are well. Adding that color. So far on this particular project I started off with a base of stamping blends, the alcohol based markers, and then I added detail with the Stampin' Write markers, and now I'm adding in more detail using the watercolor pencils, which we will blend out a bit. And you know what, there's no right or wrong. I keep saying that in this series, and it's all about what look you're going for and experimenting and trying something out. If it doesn't work, you don't have to share it. You have 5 watercolor pens. I will read that comment later, Susan and Suzanne, and reply back because I can't see the full comment. I'd love to see, though, read what you found good about them. So now I'm grabbing the blender pen, which I have introduced on this video, in this series of videos, and what I'm going to do is go over that watercolor pencil. Now I'm lifting that up. This is the one that I've done that to, and you can see compared to the petal next to it that the color pencil is no longer as obvious and as severe. And that is exactly what I want. I wanted to get a bit more depth to my petal without covering those dots. The dots are now reappearing. They're becoming more obvious, though they're fairly subtle to begin with. But that watercolor pencil, though it doesn't jump out at you, it does add some depth and dimension to this piece, and that is how I like to do mixed media. Now I'm going to grab, no, that's not a scrap piece of paper. Oh, here's a piece. So you've got to make sure that you wipe off the color from your blends pen before. So these pens, if you have not seen the series of videos before, you can find them. I can't remember what lesson they were, but you can find them in the series of videos on YouTube. And the main thing is that it's a clear ink marker, which replaces replaces a paintbrush with the watercolor pencils. You can still use a paintbrush and an aqua painter, but this is more subtle and different effect. So it just depends on what you are going for. Oh, what do we think, ladies and gents, if any watching? I am very happy with that, and I am going to leave this as is. I will finish off this as a card, and I'll bring in the comparison to the plain stamping blend. I'll just find it in my pile here. Nope, that's not the stamping blend, that is stamping blends. Okay, so there's the stamping blends, which I forgot to do the other leaf, which would go right here. But you can see now, if I lift up the comparison, put it this way, the comparison of the stamping blend on its own compared to that. It's got added depth, texture, It just changes the look subtly. I have gone subtle with this one, and that was a very conscious decision. Now we've been using Stampin' Dimensionals to lift the flower in the center there up, and then we've been sliding the leaves in underneath. So I shall continue that. Each lesson in this series has been using the exact same layout with all the products, just changing the color medium and not even changing the colors. So it's a real good compare and contrast. I feel like I'm back studying art. Compare and contrast these two paintings. Beautiful. And the card base that I'm using is Sahara Sand, and I've stamped the same leaf pattern but in Sahara Sand, but stamped off. And there we go. So that is example number 1 of mixed medium. And we shall move on to the next example, which starts with a base of pigment sprinkles. Now these are very, very saturated in color, and I love it. It was something I really enjoyed last week, and that's why I've decided to do this. And because it's quite saturated and bold, I thought we could do something very bold with our mixed media here. We're going to start again with the Stampin' Right marker, and I'm going to add more detail, kind of adding, I wouldn't go stripes, but I don't know, what would you call that? Swooshes. Very technical term. We're going to add some swooshes with our Stampin' Right markers, following the curvature of the petals. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. And it really helps when you make the sound as well. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. That's a Julia Roberts line for you. If you can tell me what movie, bonus points. Bonus points to gratitude. Nothing else. Just going to repeat the same process on the leaves. This time using Bermuda Bay, and then moving on to a Granny Apple Green. Isn't that just the most vibrant, beautiful green you've ever seen? If you want to see how I did this, watch last week's video, lesson 8, on how I used the pigment sprinkles. Beautiful. And now I think we can go bolder. Am I going to again add dots, but this time I'm grabbing the Stamping Blends. This is the dark, and I'm going to add dots. Now the reason why I've chosen the Stamping Blend to do the dots is because the bullet point is nice and thick, and it'll give me nice big dots. And even though all our colors coordinate, there is a variation in the tonal and the quality of, not the quality as in the quality bad versus good, but the depthness of the color. The pigment sprinkles are very vibrant, the blends are a bit more subtle, and same with the markers are kind of in between. And that's why I've mixed the 3, because we're going to get all 3 qualities of those. And hasn't that just changed the flower completely? This was last week's. I did make it a bit more deeper in color last week, but that obvious lineage is gone now because I've blended it out with other mediums. Grabbing the Granny Apple Green and adding the dots down the center of that. There we go. And one final one, the Bermuda Bay. Repeat again. And you can experiment. I am just showing a few various little techniques. There is a world of possibilities with this, really. Just got to make sure you're using the right paper. Essentially, because if I used Whisper White Thin for this, the paper would have torn, it would have peeled from all of those layers. Whereas this is the Fluid 100 paper, which is a watercolor paper. So it absorbed the water from the watercoloring process with the pigment sprinkles, and it still allows the color to be added on top. Now let's complete this card. I could have gone crazy. I could have stamped it again. This one was stamped in Stays On. The one with the stamping blends was stamped with Memento. I could have stamped in the colors inks, though I'm looking for my dimensionals, but I didn't want to overwhelm this video. You basically get the picture that just build the color, the texture with all the different mediums, and that is the key point that I want to share with you all tonight. Essentially, there we go. I can hear the gecko. Aren't they cute little creatures, geckos? And just a bit of liquid glue on the back of the leaves. I'll do both and then stick them down. Thank you so much for watching and joining me. Please let me know if you have any questions, even if you're watching the replay at a later time. I'm happy to answer any questions in the best way I possibly can. And we do have one more episode for this series of videos. I'm just going to lift the camera up so that we can get, there we go, the full view of those two cards from tonight. That's mixed media. It's subtle. You can definitely go more bolder. Hello Cindy, you're just joining me at the tail end, but you can watch the replay later. I've gone subtle. I've done a similar video in the past and it was much less subtle. I specifically went subtle this time. Yes, and lesson 10, which is the final episode of Let's Talk About Colouring. Thank you, Kay. It will be on no line colouring. We will be looking at watercolouring as well as using the Stampin' Blends. It's an interesting technique and it's not as hard as you may think. So I look forward to sharing that with you next Monday night, back to our usually scheduled time of 8 o'clock, not 8:30, Australian Eastern Standard Daylight Time. Isn't that a mouthful? But I do enjoy daylight saving, so I'm not going to complain. Thank you so much for joining me, spending time with me and my crafting. I enjoy sharing it with you and hope that I've inspired you to go and make something. Talk to you soon and bye for now.